gin joints in all the towns in all the world. She walks into mine.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
There's no crying in baseball.
You talking to me?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You can't handle the truth!
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hello and welcome to the Old School Movie Club podcast. I'm Sean Patterson, joined with my co-host, Kevin Levine. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm doing alright, how are you?
Pretty good. We had a little bit of a break there. We were both really busy these past 2 weeks. Kevin just got back from another... Right? You didn't really travel anywhere for this thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I could really say I got back from this film festival. It was here in Wilmington, so I didn't go anywhere.
But it was still a busy few days for you.
It was a very busy 4.5 days.
Quick, 30-second review on the film festival.
Oh my. So they had a secret screening at the festival, which ended up being bodied by Joseph Kahn, which was actually my favorite film back at Fantastic Fest, so I was happy to see that one again. Hope that one gets a distributor at some point, so everyone will be able to see that. Lots of other really good films. There was a documentary called The Work that I really liked. They played My Life as a Zucchini, which is now up on Netflix, and a whole bunch of other really good films. So if people want to talk to me about that, hit me up on Twitter.
And you can also follow Kevin's website, which I'm sure you have some reviews of some of the movies you saw there. Or
not yet, but I will when closer to when some of those films get release dates.
Aha. Okay, gotcha. But anyways, we're gonna get right into it today. This past week, or these past 2 weeks, I guess, we went and watched Pulp Fiction, directed by Quentin Tarantino. His second film, right off the heels of Reservoir Dogs, which is another big hit and was another, when we were voting for what we wanted to watch this week, Reservoir Dogs was right in that list too. So,
yeah.
So I just want to get your quick thoughts on, how did this movie differ from what you thought it was going to be? Like, what were you expecting, and how did this kind of twist what you were expecting?
I think I got exactly what I was expecting.
Okay. I was expecting a lot more, I don't know why though. I was just expecting a lot more from it, but it was a very simple movie. Like, there's no crazy plot or crazy, big action sequences, and I don't know why I was expecting some of that. Just maybe because the talk that I heard from it, but it's an indie movie through and through, and it's really, really about the dialogue and the characters and really developing their story, not so much the plot as a whole, because the plot as a whole was kind of like an afterthought,
Right.
So, getting right into it, I just want to talk about the cultural significance when this came out, and, do you think a movie like this, if it was to this quality, would have the same impact today as Pulp Fiction did back then? Because this movie is super, super small. When I'm saying small, it was $8 million to make, and it doesn't even look like it would have cost that much to make, honestly. There was not that many action sequences, and the action sequences they did have were really, really quick, really, really simple, and the whole movie itself was just, it was dialogue driven through and through. There was no big...
And easily most of this budget went to salaries for the cast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Probably
John the majority of it was Bruce Willis.
Yeah, you got a bunch of big names in there, so you had to pay them.
Yeah, but and, you said a bunch of big names, but they really only had one big name at the time, was Bruce Willis. John Travolta.
John Travolta was a big name too. He had gone through a phase where he had fallen off, and this was him starting to come back.
So this was his resurrection. But Bruce Willis is a big name, but this launched Samuel L. Jackson's and Uma Thurman's career into they're in every single Tarantino film basically now. Uma Thurman not so much, but Samuel L. Jackson's in a lot of Quentin Tarantino films.
Yeah, especially Jackson.
And you could see it, it's from the first few sequences, you can see Quentin Tarantino and his writing, and then Samuel L. Jackson being able to bring it to life. Because Samuel L. Jackson was just spot on, perfect for this role.
He was.
So what do you think about the cultural significance? Because that was a big thing about this movie was it was an indie film and it had a lot of pop culture references. And do you think something like this could ever happen again? And I like when I was doing my reading, people were saying like there will never be another movie like Pulp Fiction. It's just like the magic of it. And did you get that same sort of feeling?
I mean, it would be hard to get another movie done exactly like this, but I think if they had attempted to do so nowadays, a film like this would still work.
Yeah.
I mean, this came out in '94, so it's only been 23 years since this movie came out. But even as much as, American culture has changed and pop culture is a lot different now than it was in the early '90s, this film could still work if it came out as a new film here in 2017.
So I just want to ask you real quick about, like, what'd you think about the simplicity of this entire movie? Like, really, another thing that I didn't, like, really expect going into it, I did not know Bruce Willis was the main character.
I had no idea he was in it.
Yeah, me neither. Like, when you see this movie, you think John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson. And that's all you think of. Uma Thurman,
because she's on the poster.
Yeah, she's on the poster. And then, but the most iconic probably picture you see is, Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta with their pistols pointing side by side. That's probably the most iconic Pulp Fiction picture you see. You never see anything about Bruce Willis.
Yep.
But I still thought he was amazing, like great in this movie.
Yeah, I really loved Bruce Willis's character.
He was really the main plot point, following him, where he, this gang leader tried to make him throw a fight for money. He decided not to throw the fight. Ended up killing the guy, but then tries to run away. And then they go through this really, really weird, like, chase thing. And there was a lot of weird stuff that happened in the... But, I did just not expect Bruce Willis in this movie. And I thought I was going to see a lot more John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson.
I agree, but I'm glad they gave us what it gave us. Bruce Willis was my favorite character in this film.
Really?
And my favorite scene. Yeah. I mean, I loved Jules, but Butch Coolidge, he was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean,
and I loved the scenes, the scene when he was tied up and captured with Marcellus Wallace. That whole scene right there, them escaping from the people who had captured them, was incredible.
Yeah, and I think that we should say here is like all the characters in this movie are really, really good. Like all the acting's really, really good. The dialogue is amazing. The writing is amazing. And what's your thoughts on because this is very, like I said in the earlier, this is very, very dialogue driven. What do you think about the dialogue?
Screenplay was great here. And the screenplay, I think, was actually the only award that this film won at the Academy.
It was nominated for a ton, though.
Yeah, but the only one it won was Best Original Screenplay, and I'm on board with that.
Yeah, it's so different. You have these two, these two hitmen who are talking about burgers and stuff like that, and it just felt so natural. Everything just felt so natural with John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson and even Uma Thurman. Everything felt so. Everything felt like it fit.
Right, and you mentioned the budget earlier. That's why the screenplay and the dialogue here had to be so good, because they didn't have the budget for the big car chases and action sequences and explosions or whatever else they could have done if they had the money.
I would actually say if it had a bigger budget, it wouldn't be as good a movie.
Right.
If they had all those car chases and stuff and that's not really Tarantino's style anyways. He's more of a, really witty, good writing. When he's creating movies, he really focuses on the dialogues and the characters and the relationships between characters, and he really, really grabs onto that and takes that first. Movies he does nowadays definitely have a lot more budget behind them and a lot bigger action sequences and stuff. Just look at movies like Django and Hateful Eight and stuff like that. But still, it's very, very.
I wouldn't put Hateful Eight in that group. I think Hateful Eight is actually more dialogue heavy than Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, yeah. But that's like my point. Like, even the current movies that he's doing now, where he does have more budget, he's still focusing way more on dialogue. And Django's still, like, very, very focused on dialogue. It does have the bigger action sequences, but it's very, very dialogue heavy still. And good dialogue heavy. It's not bad dialogue heavy.
Oh yeah, I mean, he hasn't made a film with bad dialogue ever.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the performances here? Like I said, this launched Samuel L. Jackson's career. It launched Uma Thurman's career, revitalized John Travolta's career. You know, and like you were saying, your favorite character is Bruce Willis's character, who, like, we both of us didn't even know he was in the movie, and that's, like, giant, because he was a giant actor at the time, and the fact that we both didn't realize he was coming. When he first showed up on screen, I was like, oh, Bruce Willis is in this movie. I did not expect that.
Yeah, for a second I thought I was watching the wrong film.
Yeah, I thought it was just like a little cameo or something, but no. So what did you think about the performances here?
Yeah, they were great. I mean, you see here, 3 of them were nominated for Academy Awards. Uma Thurman for supporting actress, Samuel L. Jackson for supporting actor, John Travolta for best actor. I don't understand how Travolta was classified as lead actor instead of supporting actor. I'm not sure how they decided that there.
Maybe that's the only way he'd do the film. I gotta be the lead.
Maybe. I mean, because it's kind of hard to say that anyone in this was, like, the lead actor.
No, because it was very, very, like, it jumped around a lot, and Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson, like we were both saying, we thought were going to be a much bigger part of the movie, and they were only in, like, Travolta was in it for more than Samuel L. Jackson, so I get that, but they were in it for almost about the same amount of time. Travolta had that one scene with Uma Thurman, or that one sequence with Uma Thurman that Samuel L. Jackson wasn't there for. That's like,
yeah.
But half the movie was with Bruce Willis, and only Bruce Willis. The only time you ever see Travolta during that thing is when Bruce Willis shoots him.
I mean, Bruce Willis carried a lot of the film and got no love.
I know, no love for Bruce Willis. Even like we were saying, just like we've said it a bunch of times, we were not expecting him in the movie. And that's kind of funny because he was like the main focus of the second half of the movie. Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking at all these award nominations here. There's all sorts of love for Samuel L. Jackson, John Travolta, and Uma Thurman. Nothing for Bruce Willis.
They're just the new, but Travolta not the new name, but Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, new name. You know.
What'd you think of Quentin Tarantino's character?
I can't even remember.
He was he was the guy who owned that house when he had to wash them off in the backyard with the hose and give them new clothing.
He was the one that owned it?
Yeah, he was the guy in the bathrobe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whoa!
That was Tarantino.
What? He's changed so much!
It's been 23 years. He was quite a bit younger and skinnier then.
I know, so I was so confused. I was like, who was he? Oh, that's great.
It was really good, though.
Yeah, he was.
It was really good.
But, like, so, getting back on track there, that just mind blown. Whoa. Who is your standout performer here? Like, you said you liked the character of Bruce Willis, but who was your real breakout performer here?
A breakout performer?
Well, just standout, breakout, like, measuring them against each other. Who would you pick?
I mean, it's easy to say Bruce Willis again, but I'm gonna pick someone other than Bruce Willis. I'm gonna go with Ving Rhames, who played Marcellus.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about Ving Rhames, but another, like, just started his career too, which, you know, his career hasn't been as big as any of these other people, but still, like...
Ving Rhames is a big dude.
Yeah. But I would have to go with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. He was great.
You could see why Quentin Tarantino bring him back for, like... Probably asked him to bring him back for every single movie he made after this. Just because he delivers those lines so perfectly, and you believe that he's just like this introspective hitman, you know, he's thinking about this Bible verse he keeps on saying to people right before he shoots them, and I just loved whenever he was talking. I was like, fully engaged in the movie whenever he was speaking.
Yeah.
So I would say Samuel L. Jackson, and really good writing for him too. So I mean, but we know Samuel L. Jackson's a really great actor now.
I also want to give a quick little shout out to Christopher Walken and his scene.
Oh yeah.
And Steve Buscemi for only having a cameo here, so I didn't have to watch him for too long.
Dude, I don't know. We're gonna watch Reservoir Dogs sometime, and you're gonna have to watch Steve Buscemi.
Well, I know it's gonna happen at some point. I need to find something that I like from him. It hasn't happened yet.
I know you wanted to talk about the, like, kind of disjointed feel that this movie had. And
yeah,
it's not disjointed in a way that, like, enhances the story at all. Like, it's not like, because the way it works is, you know, you have this, like, straight line, and then there's something missing out of the middle. And then at the end of the movie, they go back to that middle part that's missing. But it doesn't really, like, give anything extra to you, you know? Like, there's nothing else that you learn from that little part that they took out originally that you, like, it's not like a revelation, like, oh, I get it now. So, like, what'd you think of that choice to do that? Even though it wasn't, like, some sort of, like, big mystery or revelation that you found out from that.
So Christopher Nolan is the only director that, for me so far, has really mastered the non-linear structure where the story is being told out of chronological order.
Yeah.
He did it with Memento. He just did it with Dunkirk. And I loved what he did with both of those. What Tarantino did here, I mean, it's fine, but it made it confusing trying to keep up with where we were in the story.
And it didn't support anything. Like, there was nothing that they were trying to hide from you in that scene that it was like, oh, I get it now. Or there was no, like, finger snap, like, I get it, or anything like that. It was just like oh, this is just like an extra scene. This is like bonus features they added on the end.
Right, but still saying that, I don't even know if telling this story in chronological order necessarily would have made it even better. It just would have made it easier to follow.
Yeah, just easier to follow. And, like, you get what's going on pretty quickly. You're like, oh, okay, it's like, they snap you back into it pretty quick, and it's a pretty long chunk of time that they took out from the middle. You know, right after the first few scenes where Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta go to this house and are asking for this briefcase, they end up killing three of the guys. And then it snaps out of that. So that's where the starting point is of this big old chunk that heads on into the movie. And then you pick up with John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson in, like, these weird clothes. And that's, like, the only thing that you're like, oh, how did they get into those weird clothes? That doesn't make any sense. And then when they do the flashback or when they cut back to the other scene, they're like, oh, that makes a little bit more sense. But it just wasn't, like, something, like, super integral to the movie, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, the way that they had it ordered, the diner scene, which ends up being the beginning and the end of the film, is actually just the dead center of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So you start off and you end in the middle, and everything else that happens in the film is stuff that either happened before the diner or after the diner.
Yeah, and it's definitely cool. Like, it's cool how he did that. It's just like, if it were like a straight on throughout the entire movie, I don't think it would have enhanced or made it worse in any way, you know?
Right. It just would have made it slightly easier to follow.
Yeah. But I did like that, like, the first scene you ever see in the movie is that, those two robbing the diner.
Yep.
And then when it finally, like, calls back to that, it's like, oh, okay. That scene actually had a purpose. I get it now, I guess.
Yeah, the opening scene in the diner confused me too, because I'm watching that, I'm like, where's John Travolta? Where's Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah.
Where's anybody that I know is supposed to be in this film?
Yeah. And maybe it's just supposed to play with you a little bit. It's just like, haha, you know. It's not
It
supposed to
did.
be serious or anything, but. Alright, so, quickly, final thoughts on Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, final thought. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
Because the acting was great, the dialogue was perfection. The violence when it was there was a lot of fun to watch, but I'm not sold on the structure of the story.
Yeah. I'm gonna go the same for me, 4 out of 5. Again, dialogue, amazing. Acting, very, very good. Like you said, action when there was action was very, very well directed. And then, it didn't have like a larger point to me, and maybe that's because I'm not like, if I was like in my mid-20s when this first came out, I might feel differently about it. Like there might be some sort of cultural reference I'm missing here, but it didn't serve like a larger purpose to me personally. But that's what this show is about. Do these movies still hold up to the time? And I would say this movie still holds up as a great movie.
Oh,
but
it absolutely holds up.
As culturally significant now as it was probably back then.
That's fair.
But okay, so moving on. Next week we'll be doing a movie about, or we'll not be doing a movie. We're not doing a movie. Next week we're watching Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. Well, you said they were doing a movie about. I was about to say, I don't even know what this movie is about.
Me neither.
So, I know. But yeah, we put up a Twitter poll that had Sunset Boulevard, Full Metal Jacket, Young Frankenstein, and Blazing Saddles. And Blazing Saddles was the winner.
I was rooting for Full Metal Jacket there.
I'm not sure what I was rooting for there. I think maybe Young Frankenstein, but I think Blazing Saddles will be fun. I mean, it looks like it's gonna be straight. Fun too. It's gonna be straight up comedy, but it's satire, and I do like satire.
Yeah, and I've just heard some things about this movie that I'm like curious about. I just want to see, what I've heard is true, and maybe we'll have like a different take on this movie than we usually do. I don't know, like, because this is an old comedy, 1974.
Yeah,
it's an old comedy. But anyways.
7.8 out of 10 on IMDb, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, with an average score of 8.1.
Well, I'm sure we'll like it, but.
Oh yeah. I definitely think I'll end up liking this one.
Alright, so Blazing Saddles next week. I think our release schedule from now on is going to be, the episodes will come out on Wednesday. And then every Wednesday you'll have a new episode of Old School Movie Club. You can bank on it. Just because we want to have a set schedule, and we've been really, really busy, so our schedule's been moving around. But I think Wednesday is a good day that we release it on. So you have.
Yep, and we're also starting to
have time in the weekend and stuff to watch it.
Exactly, and we're also starting to plan our Christmas movie month for December.
Oh yeah.
So if you guys have any suggestions for Christmas films that we should watch, let us know. We definitely have It's a Wonderful Life and Die Hard on that list.
And it's crazy that both of us have never seen Die Hard.
Right. But we still need two more? Probably 2 more films to put on that list.
Speaking of Bruce Willis.
Right?
But anyways, alright, I think that's it for us. Kevin, where can they find you?
You can find me on my website, kevwatchthefilm.com. You can find me on Stardust, Twitter, Letterboxd, anywhere else pretty much at KevWatchTheFilm.
And you can follow the show on Twitter at OldSkoolMovieSK. So on Twitter at OldSkoolMovieSK. Alright guys.
Go watch movies.
Go watch movies.